Section 19 of the Letters of Jane Austen. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Letter 44. Sloane Street, Monday, May 24th. My dearest Cassandra, I am very much obliged to you for writing to me. You must have hated it after a worrying morning. Your letter came just in time to save my going to Remnant's, and fit me for Christian's, where I bought Fanny's dimity. I went the day before, Friday, to Layton's as I promised, and got my mother's gown, 7 yards at 6s. 6d. I then walked into No. 10, which is all dirt and confusion, but in a very promising way, and after being present at the opening of a new account, to my great amusement Henry and I went to the exhibition in Spring Gardens. It is not thought a good collection, but I was very well pleased, particularly, pray tell Fanny, with a small portrait of Mrs. Bingley, excessively like her. I went in hopes of seeing one of her sister, but there was no Mrs. Darcy. Perhaps, however, I may find her in the great exhibition, which we shall go to if we have time. I have no chance of her in the collection of Sir Joshua Reynolds' paintings, which is now showing in Pall Mall, and which we are also to visit. Mrs. Bingley's is exactly herself, size, shaped face, features, and sweetness; there never was a greater likeness. She is dressed in a white gown with green ornaments, which convinces me of what I had always supposed, that green was a favorite color with her. I dare say Mrs. D. will be in yellow. Friday was our worst day as to weather. We were out in a very long and very heavy storm of hail, and there had been others before, but I heard no thunder. Saturday was a good deal better, dry and cold. I gave 2s. 6d. for the dimity. I do not boast of any bargains, but I think both the sarcenet and dimity good of their sort. I have bought your locket, but was obliged to give 18s. for it, which must be rather more than you intended. It is neat and plain, set in gold. We were to have gone to the Somerset House exhibition on Saturday, but when I reached Henrietta Street, Mr. Hampson was wanted there, and Mr. Tilson and I were obliged to drive about town after him, and by the time we had done it was so late for anything but home. We never found him after all. I have been interrupted by Mrs. Tilson. Poor woman! She is in danger of not being able to attend Lady Drummond Smith's party to night. Miss Burdett was to have taken her, and now Miss Burdett has a cough and will not go. My cousin Caroline is her sole dependence. The events of yesterday were, our going to Belgrave Chapel in the morning, our being prevented by the rain from going to evening service at St. James, Mr. Hampson's calling, Messrs. Barlow and Phillips dining here, and Mr. and Mrs. Tilson's coming in the evening à l'ordinaire. She drank tea with us both Thursday and Saturday; he dined out each day, and on Friday we were with them, and they wish us to go with them to morrow evening to meet Miss Burdett, but I do not know how it will end. Henry talks of a drive to Hampstead, which may interfere with it. I should like to see Miss Burdett very well, but that I am rather frightened by hearing that she wishes to be introduced to me. If I am a wild beast, I cannot help it; it is not my own fault. There is no change in our plan of leaving London, but we shall not be with you before Tuesday. Henry thinks Monday would appear too early a day. There is no danger of our being induced to stay longer. I have not quite determined how I shall manage about my clothes. Perhaps there may be only my trunk to send by the coach, or there may be a bandbox with it. I have taken your gentle hint, and written to Mrs. Hill. The Hoblins want us to dine with them, but we have refused. When Henry returns he will be dining out a great deal, I dare say. As he will then be alone, it will be more desirable; he will be more welcome at every table, and every invitation more welcome to him. He will not want either of us again till he is settled in Henrietta Street. This is my present persuasion. And he will not be settled there, really settled, till late in the autumn. He will not be come to bide till after September. There is a gentleman in treaty for this house. Gentleman himself is in the country, but gentleman's friend came to see it the other day, and seemed pleased on the whole. Gentlemen would rather prefer an increased rent to parting with 500 guineas at once, and if that is the only difficulty, it will not be minded. Henry is indifferent as to the which. Get us the best weather you can for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We are to go to Windsor in our way to Henley, which will be a great delight. We shall be leaving Sloane Street about 12, 2 or 3 hours after Charles's party have begun their journey. You will miss them, but the comfort of getting back into your own room will be great. And then the tea and sugar! I fear Miss Clewes is not better, or you would have mentioned it. I shall not write again unless I have any unexpected communication or opportunity to tempt me. I enclose Mr. Harrington's bill and receipt. I am very much obliged to Fanny for her letter. It made me laugh heartily, but I cannot pretend to answer it. Even had I more time, I should not feel at all sure of the sort of letter that Miss Darcy would write. I hope Miss Benn is got well again, and will have a comfortable dinner with you to-day. Monday evening. We have been both to the Exhibition and Sir J. Reynolds's, and I am disappointed, for there was nothing like Mrs. D. at either. I can only imagine that Mr. D. prizes any picture of her too much to like it should be exposed to the public eye. I can imagine he would have that sort of feeling, that mixture of love, pride, and delicacy. Setting aside this disappointment, I had great amusement amongst the pictures, and the driving about, the carriage being open, was very pleasant. I liked my solitary elegance very much, and was ready to laugh all the time at my being where I was. I could not but feel that I had naturally small right to be parading about London in a barouche. Henry desires Edward may know that he had just bought 3 dozen of claret for him, cheap, and ordered it to be sent down to Chawton. I should not wonder if we got no farther than Reading on Thursday evening, and so reached Steventon only to a reasonable dinner hour the next day. But whatever I may write or you may imagine, we know it will be something different. I shall be quiet to-morrow morning. All my business is done, and I shall only call again upon Mrs. Hoblyn, etc. Love to your much party. Yours affectionately, J. Austen. Letter 45. Henrietta Street, Wednesday, September 15th, 8:30. Here I am, my dearest Cassandra, seated in the breakfast, dining, sitting room, beginning with all my might. Fanny will join me as soon as she is dressed, and begin her letter. We had a very good journey, weather and roads excellent, the first 3 stages for 1 shilling and 6d., and our only misadventure the being delayed about a quarter of an hour at Kingston for horses, and being obliged to put up with a pair belonging to a hackney coach, and their coachman, which left no room on the barouche box for Lizzie, who was to have gone her last stage there as she did the first. Consequently, we were all 4 within, which was a little crowded. We arrived at 4:15, and were kindly welcomed by the coachman, and then by his master, and then by William, and then by Mrs. Pengard, who met us all before we reached the foot of the stairs. Madame Bigeon was below dressing us a most comfortable dinner of soup, fish, bouillet, partridges, and an apple tart, which we sat down to soon after 5, after cleaning and dressing ourselves, and feeling that we were most commodiously disposed of. The little adjoining dressing-room to our apartment makes Fanny and myself very well off indeed, and as we have poor Eliza's bed, our space is ample every way. Sais arrived safely about 6:30. At 7 we set off in a coach for the Lyceum, were at home again in about 4 hours and a half, had soup and wine and water, and then went to our holes. Edward finds his quarters very snug and quiet. I must get a softer pen. This is harder. I am in agonies. I have not yet seen Mr. Crabbe. Martha's letter is gone to the post. I am going to write nothing but short sentences. There shall be 2 full stops in every line. Leighton and Shear's is Bedford House. We mean to get there before breakfast if it's possible, for we feel more and more how much we have to do and how little time. This house looks very nice. It seems like Sloane Street moved here. I believe Henry is just rid of Sloane Street. Fanny does not come, but I have Edward seated by me beginning a letter, which looks natural. Henry has been suffering from the pain in the face which he has been subject to before. He caught cold at Matlock, and since his return has been paying a little for past pleasure. It is nearly removed now, but he looks thin in the face, either from the pain or the fatigues of his tour, which must have been great. Lady Robert is delighted with P. and P., and really was so, as I understand, before she knew who wrote it, for of course she knows now. He told her with as much satisfaction as if it were my wish. He did not tell me this, but he told Fanny. And Mr. Hastings! I am quite delighted with what such a man writes about it. Henry sent him the books after his return from Daylesford, but you will hear the letter too. Let me be rational, and return to my 2 full stops. I talked to Henry at the play last night. We were in a private box, Mr. Spencer's, which made it much more pleasant. The box is directly on the stage. One is infinitely less fatigued than in the common way. But Henry's plans are not what one could wish. He does not mean to be at Chawton till the 29th. He must be in town again by October 5th. His plan is to get a couple of days of pheasant shooting, and then return directly. His wish was to bring you back with him. I have told him your scruples. He wishes you to suit yourself as to time, and if you cannot come till later, will send for you at any time as far as Bagshot. He presumed you would not find difficulty in getting so far. I could not say you would. He proposed your going with him into Oxfordshire. It was his own thought at first. I could not but catch at it for you. We have talked of it again this morning, for now we have breakfasted, and I am convinced that if you can make it suit in other respects, you need not scruple on his account. If you cannot come back with him on the 3rd or 4th, therefore, I do hope you will contrive to go to Attlestrop. By not beginning your absence till about the middle of this month, I think you may manage it very well. But you will think all this over. One could wish he had intended to come to you earlier, but it cannot be helped. I said nothing to him of Mrs. H. and Miss B., that he might not suppose difficulties. Shall not you put them into our own room? This seems to me the best plan, and the maid will be most conveniently near. Oh dear me! When I shall ever have done! We did go to Leighton and Shear's before breakfast. Very pretty English poplins at 4_s._ and 3_d._, Irish ditto at 6_s._, more pretty certainly, beautiful. Fanny and the 2 little girls are gone to take places for to-night at Covent Garden. Clandestine Marriage and Midas. The latter will be a fine show for L. and M. They revelled last night in Don Juan, whom we left in hell at 11:30. We had Scaramouch and a ghost, and were delighted. I speak of them; my delight was very tranquil, and the rest of us were sober-minded. Don Juan was the last of 3 musical things, 5 hours at Brighton in 3 acts, of which one was over before we arrived, none the worse, and the Beehive, rather less flat and trumpery. I have this moment received £5 from kind, beautiful Edward. Fanny has a similar gift. I shall save what I can of it for your better leisure in this place. My letter was from Miss Sharpe, nothing particular. A letter from Fanny Cage this morning. 4 o'clock. We are just come back from doing Mrs. Tickar's, Miss Hare, and Mr. Spence. Mr. Hall is here, and while Fanny is under his hands, I will try to write a little more. Miss Hare had some pretty caps, and is to make me one like one of them, only white satin instead of blue. It will be white satin and lace, and a little white flower perking out of the left ear, like Harriet Byron's feather. I have allowed her to go as far as £1 16_s._ My gown is to be trimmed everywhere with white ribbon plaited on somehow or other. She says it will look well. I am not sanguine. They trim with white very much. I learnt from Mrs. Tickars's young lady, to my high amusement, that the stays now are not made to force the bosom up at all. That was a very unbecoming, unnatural fashion. I was really glad to hear that they are not to be so much off the shoulders as they were. Going to Mr. Spence's was a sad business, and cost us many tears. Unluckily, we are obliged to go a second time, before he could do more than just look. We went first at 12:30, and afterwards at 3, papa with us each time; and alas! we are to go again to morrow. Lizzie is not finished yet. There have been no teeth taken out, however, nor will be, I believe, but he finds hers in a very bad state, and seems to think particularly ill of their durableness. They have all been cleaned, hers filed, and are to be filed again. There is a very sad hole between two of her front teeth. Thursday morning, 7:30. Up and dressed and downstairs in order to finish my letter in time for the parcel. At 8 I have an appointment with Madame B., who wants to show me something downstairs. At 9 we are to set off for Grafton House, and get that over before breakfast. Edward is so kind as to walk there with us. We are to be at Mr. Spencer's again from 11:05. From that time shall be driving about, I suppose, till 4 o'clock at least. We are, if possible, to call on Mrs. Tilson. Mr. Hall was very punctual yesterday, and curled me out at a great rate. I thought it looked hideous, and longed for a snug cap instead, but my companions silenced me by their admiration. I had only a bit of velvet round my head. I did not catch cold, however. The weather is all in my favor. I have had no pain in my face since I left you. We had very good places in the box next to stage box, front and second row, the 3 old ones behind, of course. I was particularly disappointed at seeing nothing of Mr. Crabbe. I felt sure of him when I saw that the boxes were fitted up with crimson velvet. The new Mr. Terry was Lord Ogleby, and Henry thinks he may do; but there was no acting more than moderate, and I was as much amused by the remembrances connected with Midas as with any part of it. The girls were very much delighted, but still preferred Don Juan, and I must say that I have seen nobody on the stage who has a more interesting character than that compound of cruelty and lust. It was not possible for me to get the worsteds yesterday. I heard Edward last night pressing Henry to come to you, and I think Henry engaged to go there after his November collection. Nothing has been done as to S. and S. The books came to hand too late for him to have time for it before he went. Mr. Hastings never hinted at Eliza in the smallest degree. Henry knew nothing of Mr. Trimmer's death. I tell you these things that you may not have to ask them over again. There is a new clerk sent down to Alton, a Mr. Edmund Williams, a young man whom Henry thinks most highly of, and he turns out to be a son of the luckless Williamses of Grosvenor Place. I long to have you hear Mr. H.'s opinion of P. and P. His admiring my Elizabeth so much is particularly welcome to me. Instead of saving my superfluous wealth for you to spend, I am going to treat myself with spending it myself. I hope at least that I shall find some poplin at Leighton and Shear's that will tempt me to buy it. If I do, it shall be sent to Chawton, as half will be for you, for I depend upon your being so kind as to accept it, being the main point. It will be a great pleasure to me. Don't say a word. I only wish you could choose too. I shall send 20 yards. Now for Bath. Poor F. Cage has suffered a good deal from her accident. The noise of the White Hart was terrible to her. They will keep her quiet, I dare say. She is not so much delighted with the place as the rest of the party, probably, as she says herself, from having been less well, but she thinks she should like it the better in the season. The streets are very empty now, and the shops not so gay as she expected. They are at No. 1 Henrietta Street, the corner of Laura Place, and have no acquaintance at present but the Bramstons. Lady Bridges drinks at the Cross Bath, her son at the Hot, and Louisa is going to bathe. Dr. Parry seems to be half starving Mr. Bridges, for he is restricted to much such a diet as James's, bread, water, and meat, and is never to eat so much of that as he wishes, and he is to walk a great deal, walk till he drops, I believe, gout or no gout. It really is to that purpose. I have not exaggerated. Charming weather for you and us, and the travellers, and everybody. You will take your walk this afternoon, and End of Section 19.